I hadn't exactly circled my 10-year high school reunion on the calendar. Honestly, I didn't plan on showing up at all. But as it goes, my old crew got in my ear, nudged me hard enough, and convinced me to go. The reunion was happening in late August, one of those sticky end-of-summer Saturdays. A few people from our graduating year had organized it, and the venue was some upscale banquet hall in a trendy part of Glenbridge, a part of town that now had more yoga studios than gas stations. Apart from the 3 high school friends I still kept in touch with, Naomi, Tessa, and Jenna, I hadn't seen anyone from that chapter of my life in a decade, and truthfully, I hadn't missed them. I remembered too many fake smiles and awkward cafeteria run-ins to feel nostalgic. The idea of forced catch-ups and shallow small talk with 100 vaguely familiar people sounded like social purgatory. Still, I knew if all my girls went without me, I'd stew in some serious FOMO. So when the evening finally rolled around, I drove to Naomi's house. Tessa and Jenna were already there, wine glasses in hand. We pre-gamed just enough to loosen up, then grabbed a rider. Yes, still calling it Uber, but it's 2025. We arrived fashionably late, around 9 p.m., and walked into the kind of scene that made me wish I'd stayed home. The place was packed. Maybe 80, maybe more. Everyone was a slightly puffier, slightly more tired version of their teenage selves. It was surreal. But having my girls around helped buffer the weirdness. I could play the extrovert in small doses. The vibe of the party threw me off. Instead of some mellow acoustic playlist and mingling in candlelit corners, it was closer to a nightclub. DJ, disco lights, drunk people grinding to throwbacks from 2015. My friends got lit almost immediately. I nursed a drink and made the rounds, exchanging hollow how have you beens with people I barely remembered. Eventually, I wandered back to our table and found myself alone. Everyone else had drifted into different cliques. While I poked at the last of my fries, I noticed some guy at another table watching me. I looked away. A few seconds later, I glanced back, still watching. Then, boom, he stood up and made a beeline for me. "Hey," he said. "Name's Callan. I saw you from across the room and couldn't leave without saying hi." He was decent looking. Short brown hair, clean cut, definitely didn't seem wasted. Since I was sitting there solo and slightly buzzed, I welcomed the you company. "I don't remember you," I said. "Did you even go to Riverford High?" He smiled. "Transferred in senior year. I know I kinda slipped under the radar. I only really got to know a couple guys here." I asked who. He rattled off 2 first names. Common ones. I guessed last names and he nodded along. We chatted for a bit, enough for me to let my guard down. Then he asked for my number before saying he should get back to his friends. I gave it to him. Honestly, he seemed normal. It was a nice distraction from the awkward energy floating around. Not long after, I was back to being table-bound and friendless. Everyone had splintered off. Naomi was locked in conversation with people I couldn't stand in high school. Jenna was dancing on some guy's feet. Tessa was MIA. I joined Naomi's group briefly, but the vibe was off. I was tipsy and losing patience. Then, like divine intervention, I got a text. "Hey, you want a ride home?" "I'm leaving." It was Callan. "Yes, please." He told me to meet him in the lobby. I scanned the room, decided I didn't need to say 20 goodbyes, and ghosted. There he was, waiting near the front doors. We walked out to his car, some slick black coupe, no idea what kind. I'm the kind of person who thinks all luxury cars look like shadows with wheels. He handed me a bottle of water and said, "Hydrate. Now, thank yourself tomorrow." Seemed thoughtful. I took a few sips. We started driving. Then my phone buzzed. Naomi was calling. Jenna and Tessa were blowing up the group chat. "Where are you? Who are you with?" Then Naomi texted, "Check the class page now." A second later, Jenna sent a screenshot. It was a warning post from someone at the reunion. A girl I vaguely remembered had posted, "There's a random guy at the party introducing himself with different names. He didn't go to our school. Be careful." My stomach dropped. I didn't pick up Naomi's call. Instead, I texted her, "With this guy, Callan." She replied in all caps, "Someone said they saw you leave with him. Get out." I could feel myself sobering up in a flash. I looked over at him, then down at the water bottle. What had I even drunk? Next red light, I made a move. "I actually need to get out here," I said. No explanation. I yanked the door open and ran. Sprint of my life, kind of run. I ducked into the parking lot of a Chili's, closest lit area I could find. He didn't follow. He just drove off. I called Naomi and told her where I was. They Ubered to me in record time. By then, I felt heavy, woozy. Not right. I don't know what he put in that bottle, but something was in it. I hadn't drunk much, and thank God. That night, we all crashed at Naomi's. The next morning, I drove home, rattled but okay. But when I got to my apartment, someone knocked. My heart stopped. I checked the peephole. It was my neighbor. He asked if I knew a guy who had come around the night before, peeking in my windows. I said no and spilled everything. He looked horrified and said he asked if this was where a Melina lived. My neighbor had told him no and told him to leave. I could have cried from gratitude. If my neighbor hadn't lied, I don't know what would have happened. As soon as my lease ended, I moved to another unit in the same complex. I didn't want him to find me again. Our school, Rybrook High, did reunions at the 5- and 10-year marks. The 5-year one happened just a few years back. Smaller deal, maybe 200 people in our grade total. We all kind of knew each other, even if just by name. I was excited to go, mostly to see old friends. I planned to go with Julia, my ride or die since middle school. She'd seen me through every up and down, including the Tyler chapter. Tyler was intense. We'd hooked up a few times senior year, but he turned obsessive, like texting me threats, showing up at my house, throwing rocks at my window. My dad once had to come out and chase him off the lawn. Eventually, he lost interest. Maybe he found someone new to stalk. I hadn't heard from him in years, but I prayed he wouldn't show up to the reunion. The venue was a modest hall on the edge of town. Around 50 people showed, which was decent. Julia and I made our rounds, laughed at old stories, caught up with the ex-debate kids and the band geeks, and then tap on the shoulder. Tyler. I turned and felt the air leave my lungs. "Can we talk?" he said. No greeting, no apology, just that. I said something like, "Hey, hope you're doing okay," but no, we don't need to talk. I turned to walk. He grabbed my shoulder. "You're already gonna be like that?" I shook him off. "Let me go." He backed off, eyes flicking around the room, suddenly aware he wasn't invisible. It ruined the night for me. I stuck close to Julia, tried to keep distance from him. Eventually, I stopped seeing him altogether. Maybe he bailed. Later, a few of us ended up at a dive bar down the road. Julia dropped me home after. As I walked up my driveway, a car crept past hers down the street. Jeep, blacked out windows. It gave me chills. The next day, I got curious. checked Tyler's socials. His Instagram was private. I followed with my fake account. He accepted. Nothing about a Jeep. That night he messaged me, a rambling DM, trying to twist things, draw me back in. I blocked him. Then, 1 a.m., doorbell, again, pounding. Then silence. I peeked out the curtain. No one there. I barely slept. The next day, Julia's dad called in a favor from a local detective. He reviewed the messages, the threats, the new DM. Then he called Tyler and warned him. Next time, it's a case. So far, he's stayed away. But I still flinch every time I hear a knock past 10 p.m., the Phobie reunion. There was this girl I'd been seeing, Phoebe. We'd gone on 2 dates. She was a few years older, seemed sweet but quiet. My friends later admitted they found her off from the start. One weekend, she asked if I'd come with her to a high school reunion, said she didn't want to go alone. We pulled up to this big house, a mansion, really. Gated driveway, ivy on the walls, like something out of a movie. No music, no buzz of chatter, just people, staring. Everyone was older than 28, by a lot. Phoebe said they were aging poorly. It didn't sit right. People kept asking me invasive questions, like I was on trial. I excused myself to use the bathroom and took a breather. A guy outside the bathroom whispered, "Leave. That girl isn't who she says she is." He asked me her name. I told him Phoebe. He shook his head. "Whatever she told you, this isn't a high school reunion." He walked in and shut the door. I didn't wait around. I left. Later, I ran her number. Her name wasn't Phoebe. It was Claire. The address I picked her up from didn't even match. I blocked her. I'll never know what that gathering really was, but I know it wasn't a reunion. I didn't sleep well for weeks after the incident with Callan, if that was even his real name. Every creak in my apartment made me flinch. I started leaving my porch light on through the night, something I never used to do. I double-check the locks twice before bed, 3 times on bad days. One afternoon, I found myself hovering over the Report Suspicious Activity tab on the local police website. I never clicked submit. I didn't have a license plate. No clear photo, just a blurry memory and a bottle of tainted water. I hated that I let him in. I hated that I let my guard down. Naomi kept telling me I should have run sooner, but it wasn't my fault. Predators know how to shapeshift. Into charm, into confidence, into comfort. About 2 months. Later, a new tenant moved into my old unit. I ran into her by the mailboxes and wanted so badly to warn her, but how do you say, "Hey, be careful. Some guy might come looking for a girl who used to live where you sleep now." Instead, I just said, "The light on the back door sticks a little," and walked away. The Tyler situation. The final knock. Tyler didn't try contacting me again after the detective's warning, but the scars, they lingered. It's strange how your body remembers fear before your brain can process it. A doorbell rings now and I pause. Not to answer, just to listen. Is it 1 ring? 2? Is it repeated? Loud? Desperate? A week after the DM incident, I changed my number. I deleted old messages and wiped our pictures from my archive. That felt good, like scrubbing mildew off a wall. Julia told me later she'd seen Tyler's car parked near her job a couple times. Could have been coincidence. Could have been nothing. Or maybe he was circling old ghosts. I got pepper spray, a video doorbell, and I talked to a therapist for the first time in years. I told her I never really understood how trauma wasn't just about what happens in the moment. It's about what keeps happening in your head long after it's over. She nodded and said, "That means you're processing it now." Maybe. Nico's story, The Stranger Named Claire. I kept replaying the night with Phoebe, Claire, whatever her name was, like a scene from a film I wasn't supposed to see. There were so many things I missed in real time. Her laugh that never quite touched her eyes, the way she never talked about herself unless I pressed, the people at the party who looked more like cult members than old classmates. My friends joked, sure, said I'd nearly walked into a midsummer situation, but late at night when I couldn't sleep, my mind would wander to darker places. What if that guy hadn't warned me in the hallway? What if I'd stayed another hour? I tried looking her up. Claire Foster led me nowhere useful. Maybe it was another fake name. Maybe she'd done this before, invited men to faux parties. For what purpose I didn't know and wasn't ready to imagine. For weeks, I was paranoid. I'd check my mirrors more often when driving. I'd leave lights on when I wasn't home. I even got a cheap self-defense keychain shaped like a cat. Then, one afternoon, I got a friend request. No profile picture. No posts, just a name. Phoebe Allen. Blocked it instantly, and I deleted the dating app for good measure. One common thread. The funny thing about these stories? Different towns, different names, but the same undercurrent. Some people carry darkness, quietly. Sometimes they wear it like a cologne, subtle but lingering. Sometimes it's loud and erratic, and sometimes it's tucked behind a smile, waiting for the right moment to surface. You learn to trust your gut. You learn that even familiar faces can become unfamiliar. You learn that just because you shared a school with someone doesn't mean you ever really knew them. Most of all, you learn this. Not every reunion is worth attending. Melina. 1 year later. It's strange what becomes routine after something traumatic. For me, it was checking my blinds every night before bed and again before sunrise. The new apartment helped. Different. Layout, different locks. Still in the same complex, though. I didn't want to run. I just wanted to reclaim space. Then one day, while watering the little basil plant I kept by the window, I saw him. Not Callan. I mean, I didn't know if it was him exactly, but a man in a dark hoodie sitting in a beat-up sedan across the street, engine running, parked for nearly 40 minutes. He never got out, never looked directly at my building. But I knew. The next day, I bought blackout curtains, and for the first time ever, I started carrying a taser in my bag. The police couldn't do much. No crime was committed, they said. But trauma isn't about the crime. It's about the memory that breathes under your skin. Even now, every time a friend suggests going to a wedding, a housewarming, or, God help me, another reunion, I just smile and say, I've got other plans. Plans that involve staying alive. Nico. A final message. Months had passed since I'd blocked Claire, Phoebe, whatever mask she was wearing when I met her. I'd mostly moved on, dated someone new, started sleeping better. My life was quieter, steadier. Then, one night I got an email. Subject line. You shouldn't have left. No sender name, just a string of numbers for the email address. The message was short. You ruined something sacred, but you're not special. You were just one guest of many. I read it 3 times before deleting it. No attachments. No traceable clues. But the phrasing, guest, chilled me. Because that's how she'd introduced the party. Not as a reunion, as a gathering of old friends. Something in hindsight that felt more cultish than casual. I changed my email, called my buddy who works in cybersecurity to scrub any trace of my info, and I started journaling, just to make sense of things. Writing gave me power again. If nothing else, at least I had my version of the story. Julia, a friend's perspective. I hadn't told anyone this, not even Melina. But the night of the 5-year reunion, I saw Tyler before he even approached her. He was standing near the bar, just watching her. Not drinking, not talking. I saw it in his eyes, that simmering kind of rage some people never unlearn. And I didn't say anything. I thought she'd be fine. I thought if I called attention to it, maybe I would have made it worse. So I watched from the sidelines like it was someone else's movie. After the incident with him grabbing her, I kicked myself. Because I knew, and I still froze. Since then, I've promised myself something. I don't hesitate anymore. If I see something, I act. If I feel something off, I speak. We're all taught to stay out of drama. But sometimes silence is the most dangerous thing in the room. The threads start to tangle. You want to think these things only happen once, that they're isolated events with neat little endings, but they're not. Melina's stalker never got caught. Nico never really learned what that party was. Tyler vanished, but silence doesn't mean safety. Reunions, in theory, are about nostalgia, a celebration of time, growth, and reconnection. But for some of us, they only uncover what should have stayed buried. Ghosts with living faces, strangers with borrowed names. Some chapters don't get closure. They just get quieter. If these stories gave you chills, you're not alone. Reunions, they're supposed to be harmless, nostalgic. But sometimes what we revisit isn't the past. It's a warning. Have you ever felt something was off at a party, a date, or a familiar place? Do you have your own story that never made it past the group chat? Share your experience. Your voice could be the one that stops someone else from staying too long, ignoring that gut feeling, or trusting the wrong smile. Anonymity is always respected. Truth is always louder than silence. Drop your story. Compare notes. Start the conversation. Because not every ghost story is fiction, and not every reunion should be RSVP'd.